Good evening, guys. I'm just waiting for this to load because I am going to share it to my Facebook group. If you're looking for a strong community of support, training, mentorship, and you want to join us in the community, you can join us at tribe.freeself.com. Okay, so it's up. I'm going to share this to my community here. This is where the magic happens. Okay, got this posted there. Okay, guys. Good evening. Today, I want to talk about this concept that comes up a lot. It's the idea that we seek lessons in our trauma. We think that the trauma happened for a purpose, a meaningful reason as to why these things are occurring. And what this does to us is it gets us analyzing the trauma, it gets us re traumatizing ourselves, it gets us lost in feeling like this happened deliberately to us so that we could fix ourselves. Does that sound familiar? Do you think you need fixing? Do you believe that your trauma was something you deserved? That you earned it in some way or you chose it in some way? These are the signals. I'm moving this around so I have my notes up. But these are the signals that we do. These are the signals that we're seeking meaning or purpose in our trauma. What this tends to do rather is it robs us of the innocence we naturally have in the event. Instead of holding the perpetrator, the person who committed a trauma against us, accountable, we internalize it and make it about ourselves. We blame ourselves for the actions and the choices of another human being. That's codependency 101 right there, right? But it also cuts us off from the innocence we have in it, and then it cuts us off from our actual healing. Because part of coming out of a traumatic experience is to return back to our state of rest, creativity, and play. Okay? This is where we feel safe to be ourselves. And part of that often is the innocence that still remains within us despite the event. If we can't get reconnected with ourselves that way because we're out here looking for some reason why it happened, we're not going to get out of that trauma. We're going to suffer in it over and over and over. And I know this personally because I grew up in a system. I grew up in a culture that sought meaning in everything. Meaning in why did the sun do that? What's this feeling mean? What's this impression mean? Why did this happen and this not happen? In fact, I got so neurotic in it, so obsessed with it, that if someone looked at me a certain way, like a girl smiled at me, my mind would be like, oh, is this a signal that this is the one I need to marry or something? It got really ludicrous. And so seeking meaning in events in life tends to rob us of our own ability to see the truth about what's actually happening for us. That is, that something is happening. How do we feel about it? What can we do about it? What do we need? How do we need to respond to it? What do we need to change in our boundaries or in our awareness so that that doesn't happen again and so that we can have more of what we want in our lives? So seeking meaning tends to block our own ability to heal. Okay, so it robs us of that opportunity to see things in a very honest way. Ultimately, and I think this is the most tragic part of seeking meaning in trauma, is that we believe that it happened for a reason, that we chose it, that this was destiny, and that we need to learn from it in order to prevent it from happening again. Talk about terrorizing yourself. It's like, oh, okay, if I don't learn the lesson, whatever the mysterious lesson is in this thing, it's going to happen to me again and again and again. And is that not terrifying? That would terrify the bejesus out of me? I'd be like, it did. My life became a mess of anticipatory anxiety. It led to chronic trauma, constantly seeking and trying to control things and protect myself by anticipating things based on whatever meaning I thought I was coming up with about why the thing happened. Now, there is a component in seeking meaning that makes sense for us. If we believe it happens for a purpose, if we can find that purpose and satisfy it, we won't have to go through it again. So it kind of gives us a sense of control over things that are largely chaotic. Like, for instance, my mother died of cancer just before my 11th birthday. I sought a lot of meaning in that. Why would God let that happen? Why my mother and not the next door neighbors, right? Why cancer? Why as a child? Why did she have to die? Why did I have to live without her? Lots of why questions because I was seeking the meaning, because I was taught that that happens for a specific reason. And I was told verbatim, and I'll quote it, this happened so that you could learn a lesson. You must be a very strong person. So it was aggrandized into some bizarre thing that it isn't. It fundamentally is not. And what that did to the trauma of losing my mother is it aborted my ability to grieve. It aborted my ability to feel what I was feeling, the loss, the emptiness. I couldn't get in contact with myself because suddenly these feelings became wrong. I had to find the meaning and comply to it, not agree with and understand my own experience. That traumatized me more. So not only losing your mother is trauma, but now you have this meaning coming in and putting more onto it. That's why meaning is a toxic habit in dealing with trauma and dealing with difficulties that are happening to us, because there isn't a mystical purpose behind it. When we give up mystical purpose, then we can actually interface, relate with what's actually happening, have an honest experience, and if there is something that will be learned, it will be learned. Because you'll just learn it. You'll be like, oh, well, this is what I understand now. Wow. It didn't happen so you could learn that. It happened because it happened, and that's what you learned from the happening. It's more of an organic experience rather than a deliberate execution that is being acted upon you. Okay? And when we approach things like traumatic events, whether it's abuse or neglect or a natural disaster or a disease, or we lose somebody, we go through a nasty breakup, we're dealing with a narcissist, war, things like that. If we stop applying meaning to it, then we can get in that genuine connection back with ourselves. And that connection is not going to feel great, guys. At first, it's going to be like, I feel awful, I feel terrified. And because there's all these somatic feelings, these sensations in our bodies that come up, and it's like, well, yeah, because that's the reality of what we went through. And that matters because our pain matters. Our experience matters, our traumatic events, our losses matter. And for us to actually achieve closure, achieve actual healing with our trauma, we need to get in contact with the reality of our experience, not be out here in la la land seeking some meaning. Okay? And that can be hard to do. I get it. When I started shedding meaning from my mother's death, I kind of lost a sense of connection with her. I lost a sense of importance and identity with it. I had to face the fact that there are things that happen in life that we have no control over. And I think that's one of the biggest elements of maturity, is to accept the chaos variable in life. That there are things that are naturally we're powerless to, that we will be acted upon. And then if we're willing to receive that, then we can identify our locus of power, locus of control, and begin to move through life from a basis of actual responsible physics with it. So it's a lot like gravity. So we got gravity, we can't really change it, right? But if we don't understand it and we jump off a cliff, we're going to go splat. But if we do understand it and we have the right apparatus, the right training, the right understanding and tools, we can take gravity and we can fly. We send things into the sky that weigh hundreds of tons because of gravity. We use gravity to slingshot robots to Mars, accelerate them, because we understand how it works. That's the key here. We want to understand what trauma is, and really all it fundamentally is a massive unmet need combined with a huge amount of nervous system disruption. It puts us into what's called freeze. And then if we want to heal that trauma, we got to thaw the freeze, meet the need, and then we've got closure and we move on with our lives. Much different than out there seeking some meaning why this happened. And we keep ruminating on the trauma, re-traumatizing ourselves over and over because we keep accessing the memory and reliving the sensations of it. When in reality, we don't have to do that. We're still whole. We're still innocent. We still have power. Let's get back to that, because once we're back to our wholeness, our innocence and power, then we can get back to our really what we want to do in life, which most of the time is happiness, right? So if you find yourself seeking meaning, I want you to ask this question for yourself, okay? The question is what need do I have that I'm trying to meet by finding a meaning in this trauma? So I'll repeat that again. What need am I trying to meet by finding meaning in this trauma? Because fundamentally, there is a need there. Either I need to understand why the person did what they did, what to do differently next time. Ultimately, it's to be understood, seen, and valued in our pain. We all need that. That's genuine empathy. That's where we're cared for. Sometimes we just need somebody to care that we went through it too, that we matter to them too, that this is important to them. That can be extremely cathartic. So if we stop seeking meaning and instead start seeking connection, start seeking understanding and community and belonging around the trauma, around whatever the event might be for you or a community. Instead, let's see each other and let's grieve together. Let's celebrate together. Let's move through this together. That's what we need. We don't need meaning. We need each other. So today, that's what I would like. Well, I'm going to invite you to think about that. I invite you to open up to a new possibility in your life that maybe, just maybe, you don't need to seek meaning. You just need to seek connection in relationship to the pain you carry in your life, to the trauma you've endured, that you can actually be loved and seen and cared for there. I have been, especially over the last 2 weeks where things have been pretty rough. People have shown up and cared. They've held space for me and with me. They have appreciated me. They've loved me. That means a lot to me. And that's been cathartic. And you deserve that too. Now, fundamentally, if you find yourself in a huge amount of distress, or if there's a trauma in your past that's getting in the way of your happiness, that tells you you're a worthless pile of crap, that keeps you in a codependent dynamic, that keeps you wondering if you're worth it, then I invite you to apply for your spot in my 6-week course called Get Closure Now. This is where you and I work together in a group to resolve trauma. I teach you 3 things in this, 3 essential skills. 1, how to regulate your body and your mind and to calm yourself, to calm your nervous system. And then I teach you how to do a process called containment. And then we go through a technique I call the closure technique, where we achieve closure together on a trauma in a one-on-one private session. And then I teach you how to nurture your needs so that you can move on in your life and have happiness again. Okay? So that if you're struggling with trauma, you've been trying to get out of it, you've been stuck in it, there's a way out. And I can show you how to accomplish that using the closure technique. So apply for your spot and Get Closure Now. We start in just under 2 weeks. All you need to do is go to healyourtraumanow.com and apply for your spot. We'll do a small 30-minute consult, make sure this is the right direction for you. And then if it is, I'll invite you to join and we'll get you signed up. Now, fundamentally, guys, remember, you don't need to seek a lesson in your trauma. Go out and ask for connection, ask for understanding, because that's ultimately what we need. We need to be seen and valued in what we've endured and what we've traveled through, okay? I appreciate you guys. Thank you for showing up for today's training. I'll have another one tomorrow. Whee! And let me know what you got out of today's training, whether you're here on Facebook or here on YouTube. Also, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Guys, remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And I will talk with you tomorrow. Bye-bye, guys.